Good afternoon, everybody. I hear that those who were early with us today have been hearing us. So this is a great learning lesson for exactly what we're about to do today, which is the virtual tastings. Good learning lessons right from the beginning. So just to introduce myself, my name is Linda Schenk. I'm the Executive Officer for Wine Communicators of Australia. Just want to let you know that we are recording this session today, and it will be hosted on the Wine Communicators of Australia website later, probably tomorrow, and also will be sent out to you as a recording. This is the first of a three-part series that we'll be showing this week, which is driving your business forward through virtual tastings. If you've registered for just today and want to see session 2 and 3, we encourage you to at least register for session 2 and 3 so that you get those recordings sent to you at a later stage if you want to watch them then. This series has been developed with a B2B focus in mind. With the current travel restrictions due to COVID, it's virtually impossible for wineries to travel and visit their export markets as they once may have done. We've therefore developed this webinar series to provide you with the knowledge that you will need to host a virtual tasting with your distributors. We recognise, however, that the skills that you learn from today from this webinar series are very transferable to a B2B environment. And in fact, I think there'll be great skills for anyone just deciding to do anything virtually moving forward. Wine Communicators of Australia have partnered with the Department of Trade and Investment to bring this series to you. We've engaged also Achieve Video Marketing to present the vast majority of the content within the webinar series. And the webinar is being powered today by Ring Central. And you can see Pat flicking through the screens right now, so hopefully we'll have them ready in a minute. We have an impressive lineup of guest speakers throughout the three series of webinars. And nonetheless, we have the most important person today, who is Leonie Muldoon, who kindly put this program together on behalf of, with Wine Communicators of Australia. And we thank you for your support, Leonie. So I might pass it over to you to have a few words right now.
Terrific. Look, thanks, Linda, and afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks everybody for taking some time to join us this afternoon in the first of this series of interactive webinars that are aimed at transforming you into masters of virtual wine tastings. I think we can safely say that 2020 has been annus horribilis. I don't think any of us at the start of the year would have had the faintest idea that we would be closing borders, unable to get on planes, or scrambling at shops to buy things like toilet rolls or flour or sugar. But at the Department of Trade and Investment, we recognise and we understand that you are trying to provide people with a taste of your wine in circumstances where you yourselves can't travel or welcome people through the doors of your wineries. So it's unbelievably difficult. And as Linda said, that's why we're here today. We want to find new ways to assist you to perfect approaches to connect with your customers, your importers, your distributors, and your influencers through executing on virtual tastings without ever having to leave your vineyards. In partnership with Wine Communicators of Australia, Department of Trade and Investment is really focused on helping you to build on those existing relationships that you have, but also to explore new business opportunities, boost your brand profile, showcase your wines, and indeed showcase South Australia to the world. We hope that there's a light at the end of the COVID-19 tunnel, and it won't have escaped anybody's attention that we've eased second stage of restrictions from today. We're starting to see people breathe life into their business again, but we know that's quite a way before you can fully kickstart back into action. And events like this webinar are designed to give you some really important tools to support you to continue to make those international connections. We're working very closely with national, state and regional wine industry bodies to help our wine exporters through a whole raft of programs to strengthen existing relationships, but also to help you to find some new clients, partners and markets in what are very challenging times. In collaboration with South Australia Wine Industry Association, we've stood up 2 market-facing webinars with wine industry experts First with China, which took place last week, and the second, which is scheduled for next week in regard to Hong Kong. Webinars are really about providing on-the-ground observations and insights, what's changed, how you can re-engage, what's actually going on the ground in these important markets. As I mentioned, we held the China wine market update last week, but if you missed it, you can catch the recording on our Department of Trade and Investment website, and the Hong Kong wine market update is to be held on the 11th of June. So just register for that on our website and you'll be able to participate live. We're also supporting up to 8 South Australian wineries in a subsidised program for Wine Australia's US market entry program. So this is a very bespoke year-long program that's really designed to help new exporters achieve success in a very tailored way, helping them with brand assessment, pitch development, and buyer connection to really diversify into that very lucrative but often overlooked US market. There's a whole raft of other programs, particularly for our wine exporters. If you're interested in participating in the Wine Australia US program or our other programs, please link onto our website and just join in. Before I finish, I just want to also flag to you our new LinkedIn group that we've established to support an interactive learning as between our wineries. So the aim is a closed group that will provide support, advice and guidance. You can upload your own virtual tasting video to this and seek some feedback from members and colleagues. You can join the group by simply searching for Department of Trade and Investment on LinkedIn and look at the wine industry group. So over to the experts for the seminar today, but I really encourage everybody to lean in, to listen hard, and at the same time have some fun. I'm sure it's going to provide you with some hot tips on best platforms, equipment, and technical know-how to produce a really professional, virtual, business-focused wine tasting. Cheers. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Leonie. That's excellent. And as I said before, we couldn't have put this all together without your support. So thank you very much. I'd now like to introduce the gentleman from, I think they're gentlemen, I'm not sure, we'll find out in a minute, from Achieve Video Marketing. We have Nathan Goad and Jerry Zimmer. And Nathan and Jerry will be talking to us today about what to do and what not to do on video marketing. And let me tell you, they are the experts. Leonie and I are not. So Nathan was recommended very highly to me by a number of wineries at McLaren Vale. And Achieve Video Marketing had glowing reports, and you'll find out why in a minute because of the content that they provide us. They certainly know their stuff. However, I'll let the guys introduce themselves. I would like to say it is really important today for you to ask any questions that you have. So down the bottom of your screen, there is a Q&A function. We will do our absolute best to answer every single question that you have. If we don't get to it, we will definitely be following up with the questions that have been asked, because today it's all about you today and the technology that you want to use or want to ask questions around, because we would love you to have the best, virtual videos that you can produce, and we don't know what your questions are. So please ask them. Use the Q&A function down the bottom. But that's enough from me. I'm going to pass it over to the guys. So over to you both, Nathan and Jerry. Thank you.
G'day everybody. Nathan, Jerry. We're situated at Christie's Beach, so nice and local, very close to the McLaren Vale wine area, not too far from the Adelaide Hills, straight down the freeway and you're here. If you're in the Barossa, we're only an hour away on the expressways these days, and come up from the Coonawarra or Kangaroo Island, and our studio is fitted out for live wine tastings. So what we're going to do today is we're going to run you through just some basic, we're not going to run you through how to make a motion picture. We're going to run you through how to do an effective wine tasting, whether it be live or whether you want to film it and then release it later. We're going to show you the do's and don'ts with some basic equipment,
Let's have the next slide, please, so we can just, the viewers can watch that one.
Go for it.
That's okay. Yeah, and so what platform, Nathan will take you through Zoom, YouTube versus Facebook, and how to actually, what platform is best. We're going to go through some cameras and some hardware. We're going to go through some software, and then we'll take some questions from you. My name's Jerry. I handle the production for this business, and I've done live productions. We have a live wine show that I produce. I've done plenty and plenty of recorded wine tastings and beer tastings. Also interviewed people, thousands of people in different aspects. So I reckon I've got a bit of knowledge as far as light equipment, gear, and what we're going to need to actually create an effective wine tasting for yourselves. At the end, I know the gear is it's a fickle thing. You might have Android, you might have Apple, you might have Windows, you might have a Canon DSLR that you want to use, you might have Sony. So I'm very happy for you to direct any gear questions to me personally via email if they're a little bit technical and a little bit outside the realm of what we're learning today. And I'll be happy to help you to tailor what gear you need based on what you've already got. So we'll go on to the next slide, please, if you like. First thing I really want you to understand is aspect ratios and what platforms and how they come up. So obviously landscape is 16:9. That's what we see on our normal TVs and on YouTube. Portrait mode is what we'll see on Instagram when people do videos live. So it's that long and thin. It's exactly 16:9, but flipped over. So it's 9:16. And then when we do Facebook Live, we get a square aspect ratio. So I just want you to understand that these are the different types of ratios and what you see on your phones or on your Zoom or on YouTube or on your actual smart TV. Thank you. You can move on. So today we will really talk to you about which platform's right for you, and we'll mainly talk about Zoom, which everyone would have heard of. We'll talk about YouTube and Facebook as well.
So everybody put your hand up who's on the webinar, who has used the Zoom platform in the last COVID-19 crisis, the last few weeks of that. Just want to see who's been using what. You can raise your hand in the bar at the bottom. Okay. So what I really want to talk about is what platform, what fits where, and where is your target market sitting, and should you be using YouTube, should you be using Facebook, or is Zoom, or is there even a better platform that you could use that could make it even more easy to use is the key. The easier it is to use, the better your production will always be. So if we can flip to the next one, please, Pat. So we'll go through Facebook. We're not huge Facebook fans. We do a show on Facebook Live because that's where the public sits. I don't think that virtual business to business, you would probably ever use Facebook Live. But having said that, they have just brought out their Rooms version, which they've really missed the boat on the COVID crisis. Zoom absolutely took off. YouTube Live absolutely took off. Now Facebook have been a bit slow, and now they've just released their Teams, so you can do multiple people on the Facebook Live. So whether you wanted to use this platform, probably not, but is it going to get better in the not too distant future? Yes. And if you were doing it and you wanted a consumer element to it, then Facebook would be the place to go. So the cons of Facebook are, it's very public, obviously. You can't pick and choose who's going to be on there, and you can't control the comments. It's something that you have to be very, very wary of. And it stays on the platform until you delete it or hide it, and it's only in portrait from a mobile device. So there's lots of cons. There is some pros. If you were looking for a wider audience, if you're looking to create a new audience, it's easy to advertise on if you are doing it for B2C. But B2B, we pretty much put a line through Facebook for now. Next, please, Pat. So most people have used Zoom, or they might have been using Microsoft Teams or any other video conferencing platform. once upon a time, it was extremely expensive and out of the reach of the layman. There was very few wineries that had the opportunity to do live tastings because it was too expensive. And we were very bandwidth, broadband services, obviously we were all on ADSL back in the day till the NBN came, was very prohibitive on doing it properly as well. But now we've got the NBN and we've got the bandwidth and the cloud's available to the majority of us. We've now got these awesome platforms that we can use that can give us pretty much hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of platform for a monthly fee. So the pros and cons of Zoom. Now, Zoom, obviously, the interaction is excellent. You can send somebody an email request. They can quite easily jump on, and the uptake of it has been huge. So a lot of people already know how to use it. That's a big pro. Now, I would go the step further saying the consumer license does have its issues. A professional license or a professional Zoom room license is the next step up. With that, you have an added layer of security. I don't know if anybody of you have heard about the Zoom bombings and the issues with the security around Zoom. People have been able to drop into your meetings, and there's been some hackers and that playing some fun and games and bringing up proposals and bringing up screens that they shouldn't during Zoom meetings. So that was a real issue. Zoom were pretty quick to jump on it and have fixed the majority of the security issues. But if you're on the consumer grade license, you have to be very careful of that. And obviously the other one with any of this, anything we're talking about, is your bandwidth and your internet connection is the number one thing that you have to have right. Because if you don't, then the picture won't be right, the sound won't be right, and there's pretty much probably no point doing it if you don't have the right bandwidth. Now, it works on NextG, it works very well on NBN, and if you're one of the larger wineries, then obviously you'd probably have a private data link and you'd have no dramas whatsoever. Now, there's also the next step up, which is we use, which is RingCentral, and obviously they're the sponsor of today, and we're using their platform at the moment. You got the opportunity to use a webinar platform. So we're using Zoom, but we're also using RingCentral, which has kind of rebranded the Zoom platform and added a couple of extra things to it. So we're in the webinar platform. If we knew how to use it better, it probably would have been better at the start today. And the things about it are, obviously you've got the Q&A, you've got the ability to give other people control, and you've got the added security features. RingCentral go to the next level where they've added their own security protocols on top as well. Now, we're not the military and we're not worrying about encryption and things like that when we're talking about our wine tastings, but we may not want our competitors to be able to jump in and watch what's going on. And that may be a thing that can happen in the future. These platforms are very easy to ask questions and very easy to throw comments up, but obviously being private, only the people on here see it. Extremely easy to use. Now, just jumping to the RingCentral, what we love about RingCentral for this is you can use the RingCentral platform, and they've got an excellent communication tool. You could send out all your invites through that to your distributors. You could send out any little videos you wanted about your previous videos you had. You could send out any new labels, because this may not just be, these platforms may not be just used in these times and moving forward just for virtual wine tastings. It might be a rebrand. It might be you're released a new wine and you want your distributors to see it, or you've got a special coming up because you've got surplus wine and you want to discount it and get rid of it. So there's many ways you can use these platforms. They don't have to be just for the B2B wine tasting. We're focusing on that, but a lot of what we're talking about can be used for other applications in the wine industry. The only issue about Zoom I think is quite often laptop dependent. So if you want to do it properly and show yourself, show the screen. It's very difficult to do on a tablet or a phone. So that's just something to keep in mind. And the other one is video conferencing etiquette. So as you can see, Leonie and Linda have been on conferences before. Even though they're part of it, they've got themselves muted. Obviously, remember to take yourself off of mute when you go to say something, and also have your video on or off, and that could be a bandwidth thing as well. So I think I could go on for hours and hours about these platforms. If you do have any questions, fire them through to us, and I promise I'll get back to you and send you any information on anything that we've talked about. So we'll go to next slide, please, Pat. Now, YouTube. We're massive YouTube fans. We actually love YouTube as a platform. The pros of it are the live questions are excellent. They come up well. It's a very robust platform. It's easy for people to watch on. Probably not so much for our generation, but the generations younger, it's their platform of choice. It's an extremely stable platform. And you can, a lot of people don't know this, but you can send unlisted or public video links to the show. So if you are going to do if you don't have access to Zoom or something like that, and you did have a YouTube account, you could actually run your live wine tastings through YouTube. And it's excellent for repurposing content, which we're really going to dive into tomorrow. We won't, Wednesday. We won't really touch on that right this second. And the only con of it is, and it's our generation's fault, is Australia's uptake of it is pretty poor, and people don't know that you need to log in through your Google account to be logged into YouTube to be able to comment whilst you're watching something. So that's about the only con that we can really come up with YouTube. So we'll jump through to the next slide, please, Pat. And I'll hand over to Jerry because he's the expert on the equipment.
Thanks, Nathan. All right, so you've probably seen some live tastings on Facebook at the moment that people have been doing with their mobile phones. Now, there's been some problems with that. Number one is just remembering when we go live with from a mobile device, it can only be in that portrait mode. So it can only be the up-down. Now, you can see there, actually the camera of the phone on the tripod is set to landscape. But just remember that you can only go portrait, which means you can get less in the scene, which then means to get more in the scene, you need to move back. And when you move back, then you can't hear. So what I suggest for number one is you're going to go live just on Facebook or just with a mobile phone, get a nice tripod or a nice clip, and also get a mic. And you can see we've got that thing there. We call that a dead mouse, and that stops the wind. And there's a little clip-on mic. If we go to the next slide, please. We can see that little video mic you can see really close there, it plugs directly into your iPhone, and then you can slip that dead mouse over that microphone to stop the wind noise if you're going to be outside. I've seen a few Facebook Live wine tastings outside with the wind blowing, and I'm not sure how precious you are with your brand, but I don't think an exclusive wine brand should really be outside in the wind where it sounds like noise. It's just not a good look for your brand. Next slide, thank you. So also there's these lav mics that connect straight into your phone. Now I really like these as well because you can get some cheaper versions of these lav mics that have a really, really long lead. And if you have two subjects in the wine tasting, you can put the mic on one person and the other person will be picked up by that microphone. That's why I really like this version of getting a long lav mic like this that plugs directly. Now you have to have a little converter to the iPhone to connect that to a Lightning. But I think, I'm not an Android user, but I think that pin goes directly into an Android phone. Next slide. So you can see here's an example of the little holder that I've got. It's a really great little thing. It has a little stand on it, so you can just stand it up for those little selfie recording sessions, or it has a screw on it. You can see that little screw there. It screws directly into a tripod, and it's got a screw in the back there as well. So there's lots of mounting options for this little Manfrotto thing. And these are really good. I prefer this every time. Clip it or use a stand of some sort rather than having an earthquake hand person hold it. It's just frustrating for the viewer to have lots of movement. Thanks. Next slide. So now I got to talk to you about lighting. This is a common mistake we see all the time in wineries. We've got this beautiful landscape behind, and the people go, let's sit there so all the people can see our vineyards and our rolling hills. So this is just what the exposure that the camera just did by itself. It obviously gets confused by the amount of light in the scene, and it blows out everything, and it just doesn't look that good. And on top of it all, we can't see out into the vineyard from this shot. You can see that one. So that's what's called backlighting. So that's something we really, really want to avoid in lighting our situation for our wine tastings. So let's go to the next slide. In order to make this look really good, you can see I've got some nice exposure on the pink bottle, and you can see the lovely fluid. We can see some detail outside there. I've actually had to bring in lots and lots of lights to do this, to get a good exposure. And I'm not sure you're all going to have access to this many lights. But if we go to the next slide, you can see those vertical bars there. I've brought in 1,000 lumens of light. So you can see on both photos, the front shot and the back shot, you can see how much light you need to bring in to get a good exposure if you're going to have light behind you. So what I'm really thinking is, let's look around our cellar door, our vineyard, or look around the winery, and let's look for a cool spot that's got some situational light. So let's go to the next slide. And what we have here is our office, and we've got this cool light up sign. And I thought, hey, that looks good. We've got the brushed concrete wall. That looks kind of funky. And to add to it, we've got the key light coming in from the window, shining in our faces, which is really important. So this was just a snapshot exposure of what a camera does in automatic. And the next shot you'll see is, we'll just go to that next one, please. Now you can see the pink bottle's good exposure. You can see the light looks good. And all I had to do was bring in just one light to get good exposure there. So I hope it's making sense. Don't have the light behind you, have the light in front of you, and have some cool character looking light behind you. And you only just need a little bit of what we call a key light on your face. Now you can go to JB Hi-Fi and buy a number of lights depending on your situation, your budget. There's plenty of options for you, and I'm not going to give you a gear list after this because everyone's needs are so different. So that's why I ask you to send me a message or email or in the chats what type of light for what situation. So that's just one light. So that's really good little setup, I reckon. All right, next slide, please. Okay, so now we're going to switch into running like a Zoom or running it from your laptop. Now, one of the biggest problems we got is we have a poor quality laptop camera. Now, I think Nathan and I look pretty sharp here. We've got lights all over the place. We're well lit. And this is a 2020 MacBook Pro worth about $6,000. So the camera is pretty good on this one. But most people, depending on their laptop, the front-facing screen just isn't that great. You can see a little bit washed out and pixelated. So that's one of the issues you're going to have when you...
Another example too, and Linda will remind me about this one as well from a meeting we had the other day. If you're running dual screens and your laptop's off to the side, like I run 3 screens, so my laptop sits off to the side. When I'm having a meeting or if I was trying to do something, if the laptop's set off to the side, then you look like you're not paying attention, and then it doesn't actually look like you're involved in what you're doing. So investment in a laptop camera can sit straight on top of the laptop, or can also sit off to the side, which can sit on top of your screen. So then you can look straight at the camera rather than looking like I wasn't paying attention to Linda the other day.
All right, if we can go to the next slide. So there's options. There's plenty and plenty of options for webcam. I don't use one, but personally, I just Googled the top 5 webcams, and you'll find different options at your price range. So then you put a webcam on there, and that's going to sort of bring the quality up of your Zoom production if you're going to do it from your laptop. Next slide, please. So people are going to say, oh, what about this? Oh, we've got a good Canon camera we bought for the winery. What can we use that good Canon camera or that Nikon? In order to actually put a camera into Zoom through your laptop, you actually need a bit of hardware. It's a converter. So then you're going to actually need to invest in a piece of hardware to connect your DSLR to Zoom. So next slide. So then you think, oh, let's go multi-camera. Let's have 1, 2, or 3, one on the bottle, one looking down, one on the guest. And then you actually need to run some specialist software. So then you need to run this is a software, this is widely used by everyone. It's called OBS Studio. And that mixes all the cameras together and then can send it onto Zoom through that software. But you'll still need 3 converters for each DSLR or camera that you want to input. So that's when it's starting to get, if you want to up your game a little bit and have some multi-cameras, this is the sort of scenario that you're going to have to be looking at using specialist software. Next slide, please. So, and also there's another way around it. And this, as soon as COVID hit and everyone was inquiring about streaming, Blackmagic brought out this switcher. So you can run all your cameras into the switcher, and then you can push buttons to change the angle that the viewer sees. And then you can push that straight into Zoom. But then again, you're going to probably need to operate on the side, like looking around, switching yourself, or have someone producing the show. Like I produce the wine show and that we do live, and Nathan is the on-air host. Next slide, please. So in our studio, for our live wine show, we actually use 4 cameras, and you can see our switcher is a touch screen bit of hardware. So when you're getting really technical, this is the sort of thing that we run. Next slide. So we got 4 cameras. We have 4 different angles. We can situate one on the host, one on the guest, one on the wine. Thanks. Next slide. And you can see our angles. We've got a front on shot, a close up on the wine, a top down, and one on the host. You can go through these slides pretty quick there after I finish talking. And so then we're running it in our studio. You can see we go from, I'll just go back, sorry, I wasn't quite ready yet. Let's see if you can manage to go back. Well, you can see we're running from that switcher into our computer, and we also have a monitor there that so the on-air talent can actually see the questions that are being sent to them via Facebook. So that's always very handy.
Now, we don't expect the wineries to have a setup similar to this. We've spent over $100,000 in the studio getting the infinite curved walls, the green screen one end, the pure white the other end for photography, bottle shots, things like that. And then we've got military grade sound acoustics because people try to do the quarter mile right out the front of our office. And a bus happens to go past, of course, as well, right when you're filming. And then we've got all the cameras, the proper cameras for live streaming. We've got all the lighting. There's $30,000 worth of lighting, which you probably think is ridiculous. But what you can do, if you were looking to do something really professional, it's not that expensive. So there'll be an inquiry. There'll be a deal that Linda might set out on our behalf a little bit later that will let you guys know that if you do want to do something really professional, that option is available and it doesn't cost a great deal.
Next slide, please. So basically, also, when you do a more productive production like this, we can add in videos that are pre-recorded, and we can also add in stills. Next slide. Keep going. Sorry, that's just a build there. Keep going. Yeah, keep going. And we can also add in your PowerPoints or your keynotes live to the audience as well. Next slide, please. So what we really wanted to say, and particularly from me, is that this is, there's no one size fits all for the gear. So the gear section of this presentation, like it's just different depending on what you have, what your lighting is, where you want to be, out in the vines, in the vineyard, in the winery itself. So please reach out to us with those technical questions that you feel you want to take off this chat, and you actually want to bring to us, just in a private email. Well, I reckon we've really whizzed through that, and we've sort of got that 20 minutes left or so to answer questions, Linda. So I might kick it over to you to take over from here.
Yes, there are some questions. There's lots, and please keep putting them through. So firstly, you mentioned you purchased some of your items from JB Hi-Fi. So is that lighting, microphones, holders as JB Hi-Fi, or is there any other stores that people can go to purchase their own equipment?
It depends if what the problem is at the moment is that buying online is a bit of a trap. They'll say they've got the equipment and you'll pay for it, and then they'll say it's going to be here in July, because no one's got stock in anything. So personally, where you're based, go to your JB Hi-Fis, go to your Harvey Normans, so you can actually see what they've got in stock.
Yeah.
There certainly are shops. I mean, if you want to go to the pro level, we use Pro AV in the city of Adelaide. So we use Pro AV Solutions, and we buy all our gear through those guys. And we have a really a great person there called Daniel, who we deal with, who's just knows every bit of gear. He's actually done his own live streaming seminar, so he knows about everything you need, including selling the switches and those other things like that. So I'll put a link to Pro AV Solutions as well.
Okay, and someone's just typed up, oh, it's gone, it's just moved. Try Camera Supplies, Camera Supplies. Yeah, a Camera Supplies shop as well. Okay, yeah, Nathan, you talked about bandwidth and internet minimum connections is required on Zoom. How do people check their bandwidth?
The easiest way to do it is just use the speed checkers. So just type in speed test. I think it's ZDNet is a good one, and you just set up like just before you're ready to go. And then if you're running off a Wi-Fi or a NextG or something like that, or even if you're connected to the LAN, just hit the speed test. It'll tell you what your uploads and downloads are like. And downloads are usually pretty good, but you've got to be a little bit careful of the uploads. That's what used to be our problem, is we had a poor download, but we had an extremely poor upload. So if you are uploading video, then obviously you want your uploads to be okay as well. Majority of people should be okay these days, but knowing where some of the wineries are situated, they might be still a little bit bandwidth dependent, we shall say.
And just to add to that, when you are going from a live, the upload's the important one, sending from your laptop or your phone to the rest of the internet. So the upload is the one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. You mentioned before, Nathan, Facebook, YouTube, Zoom. What about Instagram?
Well, yeah, you can do Instagram Live, and Instagram Live has been taking off. It's very similar to the Facebook platform. Obviously, it's owned by Facebook. I guess there's a different generation using Instagram. Would your distributors be using it? I probably wouldn't be using Instagram Live to speak to distributors. To speak to a different target market for my fun light Sauv Blanc that I'm releasing next summer, definitely. It's just a fit for the platform's always got to be a fit for what you're doing. So yes, you can use it. Are we big fans of it? No. Depending on what, if you came to us and said, I really want to launch this product and it's for this genre and it fitted to Instagram, then there's no reason why you couldn't.
Okay, cool. What is, so here's another question, but it's about China. So if they're marketing a tasting to a Chinese audience, what's the best platform to use? Do you suggest it's YouTube or is it another platform?
Well, YouTube's blacked out in China. So I know that for certain, but you might have to, if you're going to a lot of Chinese, you would use Youku, which means you'd probably need help on this end, having a Chinese person with a Chinese phone number to set up your actual Youku account. So you need someone who has a Chinese cell, then you can actually set up a Youku account, and then you could go to China Live through Youku. But again, if you were English speaking, you'd need someone translating the comments and that sort of thing. But Youku is basically the YouTube of China, and it actually has it's got a high percentage more users than YouTube does as well. I'm not sure about live with WeChat video though, so I won't speculate on that. But WeChat is the other one.
I know what you could do is you could tune in on Wednesday, because there's a special guest on Wednesday who happens to be the expert on all things China.
Yes, yeah, you're right. So we have Jing Chao with us on Wednesdays. So it's a really good question to be asking him as well, because he would have had first-hand experience in that. Other questions are cost comparisons between, say, Zoom, Ring Central, and YouTube.
Well, YouTube's free. You don't need a YouTube premium account. Ring Central is a whole unified communications platform. So it actually replaces your phone system, your communications tool, and all the video conferencing and mobile apps and all that are included. So it's actually a really cost-effective way of doing it. And Zoom premium licenses, depending on how big the room has to be, range from about the $70 to $150 a month. So once you going to that too, it's the camera equipment and things like that you've got to really invest in. But the commercial grade licenses for everything, because the cloud, now we've got the bandwidth to get to the cloud, everything price is coming down, down and down. So, and we're going to get more and more technology accessible to us, because the bandwidth is only going to get better and better, and the speed of the internet is only going to get better and better. NBN is going to be wound up very soon. So you're going to get a lot quicker speeds. You can actually get a gigabit speed on NBN now for $150 a month if you're in the right area. So soon enough, we're going to have access to absolutely any cloud-based tool we've ever dreamed of at a very cheap price.
That sounds exciting. There's been a comment here from somebody saying that they've had problems embedding a YouTube live stream on their website. Apparently they need to be a YouTube partner with over 1,000 subscribers to qualify as a partner. Do you know if there's any way around that?
Well, embedding a live on your channel live as you go, yeah, you would have to actually do that. And you have to, we actually specialize in building YouTube channels, and we could probably help them run a campaign to get those 1,000 subscribers and the watch hours up. We've successfully done it a few times. So if that's the way they want to do it, we can help them with the strategy session to run it. So that would be one of the things we could help out with. Otherwise, just do the live on YouTube and then embed it on your site after it's live. So just the recorded version of it will always be there.
We'll touch on that on Wednesday too, in Wednesday's webinar, about how to repurpose your live wine tastings.
Cool. Questions, just going back to your speed, what is the ideal upload speed?
Oh, as fast as you can get.
38 is good. We get 38 here and I love it.
Above 5 is good.
Oh, yeah. Okay. There's a big gap between 5 and 38.
Mm.
Question, have you ever used Vimeo as a platform to do a live stream?
Well, Vimeo is actually very interesting. Vimeo is a really solid place to do a live stream. We haven't done that yet, but the good thing about Vimeo is you can send from Vimeo to Facebook, to YouTube, and to the live as you go. So you can have it set up to go to a lot of platforms all in one from Vimeo. You actually need to then get into the Pro. So it is a monthly cost to do Vimeo Pro, but that's the fallback there. But we just love YouTube because it reaches a bigger audience, and we're all about building audience. I know this is more a B2B thing, but yeah, Vimeo is very good. It's worth looking at.
Great, thank you. Question here, can you please provide a list of the mobile features, so microphones and like, and names of the gear you displayed in your slide? So could we could send that out to these guys later on?
Yeah, certainly. I'll prepare something for them for sure.
Excellent. Somebody's written here that they found this is Instagram again, IGTV quite responsive. Do you have any thoughts on IGTV?
For B2B or B2C?
Well, see, it's probably more a B2C option again, but I guess it depends on their audience, like you were saying before. Yeah,
well, IGTV is where Facebook's spending, and Facebook Watch is where they're spending a lot of their money. And obviously, if you don't know much about IGTV, then your longer videos go onto IGTV, and can be in landscape mode as well, which means your better quality videos can actually go on there. And what you can do is you can tease them on Instagram as well. So you can tease it and you can play the 59 seconds of the video, and then they can swipe up to go to IGTV to watch it. If you're in the Instagram platform and you love it, then they'll spend a lot of time on, I guess it's the viewing, the amount of viewing time you're going to spend on the platform. So Instagram and Facebook, well, we'll just say Facebook because the Facebook and Instagram algorithm is the same. If your video is over 3 minutes, obviously it'll be on Facebook Watch or it'll be on Instagram TV. The algorithm will show it to a lot of third-party connections because they want people to stay on the platform longer because their main competitor is Google and YouTube. So your average viewing session on YouTube is 40 plus minutes. Your average viewing session on Facebook, because you're mainly just scrolling or Instagram, is a matter of minutes. IGTV is up past 10 minutes already, and so is Facebook Watch. And they're coming out as apps on your TV as well. So Facebook Watch, I think, has already got an app on the latest TVs, and IGTV is coming very shortly. That'll increase your viewership again. Our kids won't use the usual platforms. They'll go straight to the video platforms.
Yeah, smart TVs. Mm.
So if people didn't want to actually do a live virtual tasting, if they wanted to pre-record it, how would you suggest they do things differently? So what platforms? I guess the technology is the same. It's just how would you host it afterwards?
Yeah, definitely put that on YouTube. You can have a private or unlisted link, and you can then, if you had a page on your website, again, that is just for the members or for the actual distributors. They can log in, and it's an unlisted video link can be embedded on the site. So we love YouTube. Vimeo is very good for that. You can send the private links, and there's less chance of it getting found by someone in search because Vimeo is a slightly less used platform. Definitely YouTube, because what I like and what I find the wineries we deal with like about having a YouTube channel is they can send someone there to look at all their videos. So you can say, here's our YouTube channel, go watch our one on the, on the Shiraz we've just bottled. And then it leads to all their other videos, and people can get stuck on there watching all their content. That's why we like YouTube as a platform, because if you just send them to Facebook to look at the videos, they all get lost in the feed. You have to do a couple of clicks to get to Facebook, then to click on the videos, and then it's kind of just not very intuitive for a place to pre-record. And you can certainly post them there, but have them hosted on a YouTube platform, I would say.
So somebody's just written to me or in the chat room saying, I used a pre-recorded video for Facebook Live via OSB. It's a great idea to do instead of going live. I'm really sorry. What is OBS? Sorry, not OSB.
OBS. I did mention that before. That's a free software. There's a slide, probably, I don't know, we can quickly get back to it, but there's a slide that says OBS is a free software that manages the input of different cameras, and you can mix it and then send it off to Zoom. So they've probably pre-recorded something in OBS, which is great. It has a recording feature, and they might have used one of these cameras plus another camera somewhere else, mixed the two together, had it recorded, and then posted it on Facebook.
Yeah, right. Sorry, you did mention OBS. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. No, it's all right. We went pretty quick through it.
There's still questions coming through. So if you've got any questions, keep writing them through. So I'll keep asking them. Somebody's asked whether Achieve Video Marketing do virtual tastings for food in your studio.
We love food.
Two big boys. We just lent in. We can do it in the studio. We have a fully equipped kitchen here. So food can be prepped. It probably can't be made here, but we can certainly prep it, warm it up, heat it here. And our live wine show Wednesday nights on Facebook Live at 8 p.m. our time, we pair food and wine together. So we bring in dishes all the time, and we actually love food. And we'll eat it right in front of you, and we'll just get it all over our faces. We don't care.
So the answer is yes. We love doing anything to do with food.
Sure.
But bring enough.
Yeah.
Bring enough.
I noticed that you chaps have the best green screen I've ever seen in the history of green screens. In fact, green screens was nothing, you know, that the layperson knew anything about before before, you know, COVID and being locked in, having to do Zooms. What do you suggest is the best thing for a winery, or even for me, for instance, because it doesn't, those backgrounds don't work on my background. I need a green screen. How would you do that non-professionally?
So if you need to do a live, your software needs to have a bit of power, and your laptop needs to have a bit of power to process removing the green and putting a backdrop behind you. OBS has a key, we call that keying out the green. So OBS again has a key out feature. We use Ecamm Live, and it's a Mac only platform, and that keys out this green and puts a winery, what is it? A barrel room behind us. And lots of people have thought that we were in a barrel room. So you just need a bit of processing power to do that. But just looking at your scene there, you've got some nice elements there. You've got some statues behind you or some artwork. Then you've got a bit of a square coming out the side of your head. So you've just got to look at how you place it, and a little bit of natural lighting, and just look at yourself and then think, I'll move this around, adjust that, and you can actually create quite a nice look in your cellar door or in your winery.
You can use portable green screens.
Yes.
And you can buy the material, and it has a frame, and you've got to clip the material.
There's a light kit. You can buy it with lights and everything.
Yeah. So there is things available. Or you can come and use the studio.
Cool. Thank you. Well, actually, do you know, when you were talking before about cameras, I was sitting here feeling really good because my computer's probably about 3 or 4 years old now, so it's very old compared to our new ones. And of course, I'm just sitting here with the wrong lighting and the wrong camera and everything. So we've got the good and the bad. There's a comment being made in here about WeChat. WeChat has an individual group chat function, which can share videos to clients. So I guess it's actually more of an information session. I will say, I think it would be a really great opportunity for people to make sure that they attend on Wednesday's webinar at the same time, because as I said, Jing Chao, who will be on that presentation, and he's going to give us something quite special, I think, around how to actually work with Chinese distributors. Gentlemen, there's not that many questions actually come through past this, so thank you very much for today. Unless any more questions are coming through, I think we might wrap it up. I'd like to say thank you to both Nathan and Jerry for your time today and for your amazing advice. It's been really insightful, and I've certainly learnt some things. I'd also like to thank everybody for attending today. Please, as I said, if you wish to listen to our webinar series at series 2 and 3, you need to register online. If you just by registering for webinar 1 doesn't register you for 2 and 3, so you do need to register for those. And thank you again to the Department of Trade and Investment. As I said, the recording will be sent out to you at a later stage, and it will also be housed on our Wine Communicators of Australia website, so please feel free to look at that anytime and refer to it. I'd like to say that, remind you, that Department of Trade and Investment have opened a private LinkedIn group, which is Wine Industry Group. So it's Department of Trade and Investment, and it's under the Wine Industry Group. They're really encouraging people to actually upload their videos on there so that we can all comment and help each other to learn and, you know, say what was good and say what was bad, and use it as a platform to I guess, gain experience and feedback from your peers. There's lots of comments of thank you coming through to you guys. So thank you again from us. And I think that's it for us for now. See you on Wednesday.
Thanks. Bye.